Jasmine Crockett launched an attack to gain the upper hand. But Karoline Leavitt's razor-sharp counter-strike not only left Crockett reeling, but also stunned the entire audience with a powerful reversal of the momentum. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. Under the blazing lights of the Capitol Clash studio, a live political talk show, the atmosphere was as tense as a taut string. The audience packed the room from MAGA supporters waving bold red signs to progressive activists with razor-sharp glares, all ready to witness an unrelenting battle of wits. Cameras swept swift, capturing every nuanced frown and tightly pressed smile brimming with tension. The studio lights gleamed off the polished wooden floor, transforming the space into a true political arena. The cameras were ready to roll as Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary, stepped onto the stage. Her red high heels clicked confidently. Her pastel pink blazer stood out and a cross necklace gleamed at her neck. Every detail exuded the confidence of a young warrior in the political arena. She smiled, a smile as sharp as a blade, her gaze unwavering. Karoline was there to defend Trump, to defend ideals, and to prove her mettle. Following her was Jasmine Crockett, Democratic congresswoman, her curly hair tied high without a strand out of place, striding proudly with eyes blazing with determination to challenge the White House. Harper, the host, with a resounding voice, stirred the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Capitol Clash tonight. Karoline Leavitt, the young firebrand of the White House, faces off against Jasmine Crockett, the storm of Congress. The audience clapped, cheers mixing with murmurs, sensing the heat about to erupt. Harper glanced at the two guests, her smile professional. This isn't just a debate. This is a clash of two worldviews. The room remained electric like a furnace. After Rachel Harper's fiery introduction, the audience, from MAGA supporters to progressive activists, sat upright, eyes glued to Karoline Leavitt and Jasmine Crockett. Harper, holding her note cards, flashed a professional smile, ready to kick things off. But before she could pose a question, Crockett turned to Leavitt, offering a polite smile laced with intent. "Miss Leavitt, hello," Crockett said, her voice sweet but cutting. "It's great to see a young face like yours here. But I wonder, how does someone just 27, a new mother, justify Trump's economic policies like tariffs when they drive up prices, hurting American workers?" The audience murmured, sensing the veiled jab in her greeting. Leavitt, unfazed, smiled back, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. "Thank you for the welcome, Congresswoman. But youth or motherhood doesn't stop me from speaking for Americans. Our tariffs protect jobs from unfair foreign competition. I've met farmers in Iowa, workers in Pennsylvania. They thank Trump for putting America first. Have you met them, or are you too busy tweeting about pain from Congress?" The audience erupted, applause thundering, mixed with cheers from the MAGA corner. Harper, trying to keep the pace, raised a hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, things are heating up already. Miss Crockett, care to continue?" Crockett, her eyes flashing, didn't back down. "Miss Leavitt, you talk about protecting jobs. Tariffs cost farmers markets and workers jobs due to rising production costs. Do you read the data or just parrot what Trump tells you? Someone as young as you should know better before standing behind the White House podium." Leavitt, her gaze fixed on Crockett, tilted her head, her smile confident. "Data. I could cite it all day, Congresswoman. But workers don't live on data. They live on jobs, security, and hope. Things Trump delivers. You call me young. I'm mature enough to know the old trade deals you support gutted American jobs. If you truly care, why not go out there instead of just reading speeches in Washington?" The audience roared again, some standing shouting, "Karoline." Crockett, refusing to be overshadowed, pointed at Leavitt, her voice sharp. "You're good with words, I'll give you that. But you're polishing Trump's image. A man who cut taxes for the rich and abandoned the poor. I fight for workers every day, from minimum wage laws to protecting unions. You call that America first. I call it political theater." Leavitt, her eyes locked on. Cut in immediately. "Theater. Congresswoman, our tax cuts help small businesses and working families keep more money. You talk about fighting. I see steel workers in Ohio backing Trump because we brought jobs back. If you want to help the poor, listen to them. Don't just tweet about them from your fancy office." The room nearly exploded, applause and cheers deafening. A group of spectators raised their phones, recording every second. Harper, looking slightly flustered for the first time, interjected, "Ladies and gentlemen, please settle down." Miss Crockett, care to respond? Crockett, her eyes still burning, replied, but her tone was somewhat defensive. Miss Leavitt, you talk about jobs. Tariffs cost thousands of agricultural jobs. You're young, you're smart, but you don't understand the pain of those losing livelihoods because of the policies you defend. Leavitt, not letting Crockett finish, fired back instantly. Pain. I understand more than you think. Congresswoman, I've met working families who lost jobs to China, not our tariffs. You want to talk about livelihoods? Let's talk about how we're rebuilding America while you're busy criticizing me to score points on X. The studio atmosphere trembled as if a storm was about to break after the fiery clash between Karoline Leavitt and Jasmine Crockett. Rachel Harper, sensing the intensity, adjusted her posture, her voice ringing with drama. Leavitt, many accuse the White House through your press briefings of using media tactics to cover up President Trump's failures. How do you respond? Leavitt, her gaze locked on Harper, smiled confidently, not politely, but the kind of smile that made the audience hold their breath. Rachel, I'm not surprised by that accusation. Outlets like CNN, MSNBC have spent years distorting the truth about President Trump. My role is to clarify the truth Americans deserve to hear. Just last year, we reached over 50 million people directly through the X platform, bypassing biased filters. From the White House podium to social media, I speak for those Washington forgets: farmers, factory workers, small business owners, not the media elite. The audience exploded. Cheers from the mega corner ringing out. Crockett, not letting Leavitt dominate, raised a hand, her voice sharp. Miss Leavitt, you're spinning Trump's narrative, covering up his failures from trade policies that cost 200,000 agricultural jobs per the Department of Agriculture to mounting legal battles. You stand at that podium, polishing the image of a man who doesn't care about workers. That's media manipulation, not truth. The room fell silent, some audience members gasping, feeling the weight of the attack. Harper raised a hand as if to maintain order, but Leavitt didn't flinch. She tilted her head, her eyes locked on Crockett, her voice calm but cutting. Manipulation, Congresswoman. I don't see you at Pennsylvania steel mills where 10,000 workers got jobs. Back thanks to Trump or the Labor Department. Don't talk about truth when you're just sitting in Congress tweeting about justice without acting. The audience erupted, applause thundering, mixed with cheers and whistles. A group stood, filming with their phones while others whispered in awe. Crockett, for the first time that night, went quiet, her eyes betraying a hint of shock, as if Leavitt's words had struck a nerve. Harper, trying to regain control, interjected. Miss Crockett, care to respond? Crockett, quickly regaining her composure, pointed at Leavitt, her voice still sharp but slightly defensive. You dare say I don't act? I proposed bills to raise the minimum wage to $15, fought for unions, and protected workers from Trump's failed trade policies. Meanwhile, you're busy polishing Trump's image on TikTok like a Gen Z spokesperson who knows nothing beyond social media. Have you ever been to the slums to see how workers really live? Leavitt, not letting Crockett finish. Cut in, her voice strong as steel. TikTok. Congresswoman, I use every platform to tell Americans we're fighting for them, from X to the briefing room. You talk about slums. I've met workers in Detroit, where unemployment dropped from 7% to 4% under Trump, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You want to talk about justice. Explain why Democrats let workers lose jobs to China while Trump brought them back. The audience exploded again. Applause like thunder, some shouting. Karoline, take her down. Harper, unable to hide her amazement, smiled. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we just witnessed a historic moment. Crockett, her eyes flashing, tried to regain ground. Miss Leavitt, you're covering for a failed administration. Per the Economic Policy Institute, Trump's tariffs raised food prices by 10%, hurting the poorest. I represent them workers, the poor, the left behind. You think you understand them just because you stand behind the White House podium. Leavitt, her eyes never leaving Crockett, responded immediately. Understand them. Congresswoman, I'm a mother, a wife, and I know what matters to Americans. Food prices up, but median household income rose 6% under Trump, per the Census Bureau. You talk about the left behind. Talk to the working families who lost jobs to the old trade deals. You won't dare criticize. I don't need a congressional seat to understand their pain. I see it every day. The audience stood, applause echoing through the room. Some held up MEGA 2025 signs while others filmed, eyes wide with amazement. Harper, trying to control the situation, raised a hand. Ladies and gentlemen, please calm down. Miss Crockett. Anything to add? Crockett, her eyes showing clear shock, tried to respond, but her voice was weaker than before. Miss Leavitt, you're smart, but you're defending a man who hurts Americans. Tariffs cost jobs, and I'll keep fighting for workers no matter what you say. Leavitt with a confident smile. Close the exchange. Congresswoman, if you're truly fighting, go out there and do it. As for me, I'll keep speaking for the Americans who chose Trump, and they are listening. She turned to the audience, lightly raising a hand, and the room erupted, cheers resounding. Harper, looking flustered for the first time, interjected. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue after the break. The studio atmosphere burned like a raging furnace, almost suffocating after Karoline Leavitt's savage remark left Jasmine Crockett reeling. The audience, from MAGA supporters waving signs to tense progressive activists, sat upright, eyes glued to the stage, still buzzing from the media showdown. Leavitt, hands lightly clasped, exuded unshakable confidence. Crockett tried to regain her composure, but her eyes betrayed unease, as if struggling to withstand the pressure from her younger opponent. Rachel Harper, sensing the heat, raised a hand to steady the crowd, her voice ringing with drama. Ladies and gentlemen, Harper said, her voice booming, we've just witnessed an unrelenting media clash. From economics to media, our guests have shown true political fire. But now let's raise the stakes with a topic that will shape the nation's future. She turned to Crockett, her gaze encouraging yet challenging. Miss Crockett, as a woman, how do you balance fighting for justice with supporting peaceful policies, especially when facing the Trump administration's hardline stance? Crockett, taking a deep breath, leaned forward, her eyes blazing with determination, but her voice slightly cautious. Rachel, as a woman, I understand the power of resilience. I fight for justice for workers, the poor, the marginalized. Trump's security policies, with a 7% increase in military spending last year alone per congressional reports, don't bring peace but push us toward conflict. As a woman, I call for peace, international cooperation, and protecting the vulnerable. Leavitt, you're a young woman. Why do you support a warmongering administration that abandons the values we women represent? The audience clapped, some progressives cheering, but the MAGA voices stood out. Leavitt, unfazed, smiled confidently, her eyes locked on Crockett. Congresswoman, peace comes only from strength. Trump's security policies reduced terrorist threats, with 90% of ISIS senior leaders eliminated per the Defense Department. As a woman, I'm proud to represent a president who puts America's safety first. You talk about justice. I see you busy attacking me instead of offering real solutions for national security. The room erupted, applause thundering, mixed with shouts of Karoline Crockett, her eyes flashing, tried to regain ground, but her voice began to tremble slightly. Miss Leavitt, strength isn't spending billions on weapons while 30 million Americans lack health insurance per the Center for American Progress. I fight for them, women, people of color, workers. You defend Trump, a man who disrespects women. Why don't you stand up for us instead of being his tool? Leavitt, her eyes never leaving Crockett. Cut in immediately, her voice strong as steel. Tool, Congresswoman, President Trump made me press secretary at 27. A testament to his respect for women. I'm not here to prove myself to you, but to speak for the Americans who chose Trump. You talk about healthcare. Our administration cut prescription drug prices by 20% per the Department of Health. You want justice? Explain why Democrats let the southern border spiral out of control, threatening American safety while Trump rebuilds national strength. The audience stood, applause like thunder, some shouting. Karoline, she's done. Harper, trying to maintain control, raised a hand. Miss Crockett, care to respond? Crockett, her eyes showing clear shock, tried to reply, but her voice weakened. Miss Leavitt, Trump's policies hurt women workers. I've proposed increasing health care and education budgets while you're busy justifying trade wars and militarization. As a woman, I wish you'd understand the value of peace, not conflict. Leavitt, her gaze sharp, fired back instantly. Peace, Congresswoman. You talk peace when threats from Iran and North Korea have risen 15% over the past decade, per the International Peace Institute. Trump keeps us safe with strength, not empty promises. As a woman, I understand the value of security for my child, for Americans. You want to protect. Go out there, meet families living near the border, fearing smuggling and crime. Don't just sit in Congress reading speeches about justice. Crockett, her eyes betraying shock, tried to respond, but her voice trembled. Miss Leavitt, you're smart, but you don't see the harm of Trump's policies. I fight for women, the poor, and I won't stop no matter what you say. But her words lacked force, as if weighed down by Leavitt's relentless pressure. Leavitt, with a confident smile, closed the exchange. Congresswoman, if you're truly fighting, do it out there, not on X or in Congress. I stand here for millions of Americans who believe in Trump, and they are listening to me, not you. She turned to the audience, lightly raising a hand, and the room erupted, cheers resounding, many standing and shouting. Caroline Harper, looking flustered for the first time, interjected. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Leavitt, you've dominated the stage. And Miss Crockett, you're still a warrior. The audience continued clapping, but most of it was for Leavitt with overwhelming cheers. Crockett, her eyes betraying vulnerability, tried to smile, but was clearly overshadowed by Leavitt's sharpness. The cameras panned across Leavitt's face, confident, composed, then to Crockett, resilient, but unable to hide her shock. Harper raised a hand, trying to wrap up. Ladies and gentlemen, Karoline Leavitt delivered a stellar performance, and Miss Crockett showed admirable fighting spirit. Thank you both for an unforgettable debate. The atmosphere boiled like an arena with mega supporters waving signs, chanting Caroline, while progressive activists whispered, trying to process the moment they'd just witnessed. Cameras swept quickly, capturing every excited face, every hand raised with a phone recording. Leavitt, sitting upright, her confident gaze unwavering, looked like a gladiator who'd just won. Crockett, forcing a smile, though maintaining resilience, couldn't hide her vulnerability. She looked out at the audience, her eyes briefly showing disappointment but still holding a polite smile. Studio staff standing backstage whispered excitedly, some checking phones, noticing the Leavitt takes down Crockett clip already going viral on X with thousands of shares in moments. One staffer shook their head saying, "This young woman just made history." Audience members began posting from Caroline is a star to Crockett tried, but Leavitt was too strong. Some progressives clapped lightly for Crockett acknowledging her fight, but the support for Leavitt clearly drowned them out. Leavitt, sensing the fervor, stood shaking Harper's hand with a confident smile, her eyes gleaming with victory. She walked off the stage, her red high heels clicking, proudly greeted by the audience's heroic cheers. Crockett, rising slowly, shook Harper's hand, but her steps were heavier, her eyes showing defiance mixed with defeat. Harper, turning back to the audience, concluded, "We'll be back soon." The cameras panned across the room, capturing the still-standing audience, clapping non-stop with cheers for Leavitt echoing. Just minutes after Karoline Leavitt's domination of Jasmine Crockett, social media exploded. The audience, from mega supporters to progressive activists, pulled out phones, posting the Leavitt takes down Crockett clip on X, TikTok, and YouTube. Within 20 minutes, the #Leavitt fees Crockett climbed to global trending with over 2 million views, mostly praising Leavitt. Backstage cameras caught studio staff scrolling X, whispering, "This girl just broke the internet." On X, a mega account posted Karoline Leavitt is the queen. Congresswoman Crockett had no chance with a clip of Leavitt's sharp national security retort. Other accounts spread memes, Leavitt in her pastel pink blazer captioned, "When you're 27, but take down Congress." A TikTok video edited with dramatic background music, cutting to Crockett's silence, racked up 500,000 likes with comments, "Leavitt is unstoppable." T-shirts with Leavitt's "Peace Through Strength" quote began appearing on e-commerce sites, spreading the mega spirit. Her X Analytics posts about Leavitt hit 10 million engagements in an hour, triple any other political event that day. Some progressives posted in defense. Jasmine Crockett spoke truth about peace and justice with a clip of her call to protect workers. But these posts only got tens of thousands of views, drowned out by the lead wave. One account wrote, "Crockett tried, but Leavitt was too sharp," reflecting the public's lean toward Leavitt. A YouTube video analyzing Crockett failed due to lack of preparation drew 100,000 views. While pro-Crockett posts garnered sparse comments, though progressive communities shared Crockett's health care and education speeches, they couldn't compete with the Leavitt storm. Mega influencers on X dubbed Leavitt Trump's new star, comparing her to veteran politicians. A viral post read, "Karoline Leavitt, 27, just schooled Congresswoman Crockett." Meanwhile, some progressive commentators admitted Crockett fought well, but Leavitt owned the stage. A quick X poll with 50,000 participants showed 78% thought Leavitt won, with only 15% backing Crockett, cementing Leavitt's dominance. Crockett from backstage posted on X, "I'll keep fighting for justice no matter who stands before me." The post got 10,000 likes, but was buried under hundreds of comments praising Leavitt. The social media storm wasn't just a fleeting reaction. It was proof of Leavitt's power. She didn't just shock the studio audience, but shaped the narrative on X, TikTok, and YouTube, leaving Crockett in the shadows. The storm from the Capitol clash didn't just rock social media, but spilled into mainstream media, with Karoline Leavitt becoming the focal point after overpowering Jasmine Crockett. Hours after the show, major outlets reported turning Leavitt's audience stunning moment into the headline. Fox News led its evening broadcast with new megastar Karoline Leavitt crushes Crockett. Commentator Sean Hannity praised Leavitt. 27 just taught Congress a lesson in sharpness. A Breitbart article called her Trump's secret weapon, with over 1 million reads in a day. Even CNN and MSNBC reluctantly admitted Leavitt's edge, with a CNN commentator saying Crockett fought well, but Leavitt controlled the stage. A Washington Post analysis with 500,000 views dubbed her Washington's shock maker, solidifying Leavitt's resounding victory. A Rasmussen Reports poll showed 65% of viewers rated Leavitt the winner, compared to 20% for Crockett. Mega forums on X overflowed with posts "Leavitt is our future," with images of her in the pink blazer, eyes confident. After the clash with Crockett, Leavitt was invited to shows like Tucker Carlson Tonight and Meet the Press, elevating her profile. Meanwhile, Crockett faced pressure from her team, with some advisors suggesting she rethink her strategy to avoid repeating the loss. A political analysis wrote, Leavitt turned Crockett into her own shadow. Though some progressive communities respected Crockett, she couldn't escape Leavitt's shadow, who had defined the political narrative that night. Leavitt's resounding victory wasn't just a TV moment, but a turning point, thrusting her into the center of American politics. After her domination on the show, Karoline became an icon of the new mega generation. Her quote, "Peace comes only from strength," spread across millions of views on X, TikTok, and YouTube. Not just a sharp retort, but a rallying cry, appearing on t-shirts, coffee mugs, and banners at mega events. A Gallup poll conducted right after the show showed 62% of Americans under 35 knew of Leavitt, with 45% seeing her as a young leadership role model. Articles in National Review and the Wall Street Journal called her a game share, predicting she'd lead the conservative movement for the next decade. President Trump at a Florida event publicly praised Karoline Leavitt as the future of mega online forums like Patriots. When overflowed with posts, Leavitt crushed Crockett. Now she's our star. A YouTube video analyzing Leavitt's performance hit 2 million views with comments. She didn't just win. She redefined Gen Z politics. Conservative women's groups like Women for America First held events inspired by Leavitt, inspiring thousands of young people to engage in politics. Her legacy wasn't just beating Crockett, but ushering in a new era for the mega movement where youth, sharpness, and confidence were celebrated. Crockett, still fighting, appeared at Dallas events to speak on justice and peace. But her once fiery eyes now showed a pensive glint. An ex-post from her calling for increased health care funding got 20,000 likes, but was drowned in thousands of comments comparing her to Leavitt. Crockett's good, but Leavitt's in another league. An Atlantic article acknowledged Crockett's spirit, but concluded she was overshadowed by Leavitt in a fateful moment. Progressive groups like Indivisible tried to revive Crockett's image, sharing clips of her worker protection calls, but they only reached tens of thousands of views, unable to match Leavitt's frenzy. A Pew Research poll showed only 25% of viewers recalled Crockett's arguments, compared to 70% remembering Leavitt's quotes. Leavitt stood before a mirror in her White House office, knowing she hadn't just won a debate, but had shaped the political future. In Dallas, Crockett, in an emerald blazer, spoke to a crowd about justice, but her eyes betrayed a hint of defeat, as if still haunted by Leavitt's sharpness. The lesson from the battle was clear. Leavitt won with preparation, composure, and connection, while Crockett, though defiant, couldn't overcome her younger opponent's strength. The moment at the Capitol clash wasn't just a victory, but a milestone for Leavitt, making her an icon of the new generation. The Capitol clash story between Karoline Leavitt and Jasmine Crockett deeply reflects the political polarization and media's role in today's American society, where debates are not just clashes of ideas, but stages for shaping public opinion. Leavitt, with her sharpness and thorough preparation, dominated Crockett by using specific data. 90% of ISIS leaders eliminated 20% prescription drug price cuts and emotionally connecting with the audience through the image of forgotten Americans. Meanwhile, Crockett, though resilient with her justice and peace arguments, faltered due to a lack of preparation against a young but savvy opponent. The viral spread on X, TikTok, and YouTube with #LeavittFet hitting 2 million views shows the power of social media in amplifying a moment, reflecting how the American public is swept up in media shocks. Leavitt's victory, reinforced by Fox News articles and a Gallup poll, 62% of young people know her, underscores that in modern politics, confidence, and message delivery trump experience. Real-world lesson. In today's polarized American society, where opinions are easily divided and social media shapes perception, Leavitt's lesson is to prepare thoroughly and communicate clearly. Whether you're young like Leavitt or seasoned like Crockett, success comes from blending data like Leavitt's job stats with personal storytelling, her mother image. Learn how Leavitt used X to connect, but avoid Crockett's emotional attacks which weakened her in work or debates. Be confident. Use facts to persuade. And don't shy away from standing up even against tough opponents. Preparation and composure, as Leavitt showed, will make you stand out in a competitive, polarized world. Subscribe to the channel to not miss shocking political moments like Karoline Leavitt's domination at the Capitol clash. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video with more epic verbal battles.